Welcome to the S.O.A.P video series from Oak Tree Community Church in South Bend, Indiana. We are almost to the end of the book of Genesis. Close. We're so close. We have like 8 chapters over the next 2 weeks to do this. And we are right in the thick of the story of Joseph.
Right, exactly. So last week we talked about Joseph interpreted the dreams of the cupbearer and the royal baker, and this ultimately got him into Pharaoh's presence and into his current job.
Yeah.
And just because he could, it is a job, because he could interpret dreams. So Joseph interprets that Egypt will have 7 years of feast and 7 years of famine.
Yep.
And he recommends that Pharaoh hire a skilled person and gave all these qualifications. And it turns out he was the best guy for the job. So he got picked. So the famine hits. During the feast, they collected all the grain, built all the storage. Now it's during the famine time, and they're opening up the grain and selling it to Egypt, but also selling it to the countryside too.
Yeah, foreigners.
Yeah, somehow Jacob hears this, and he tells his sons, go get us some grain.
Yeah.
So they travel to Egypt, and they actually stand in front of their brother. They have no idea it's their brother. Their brother does know what's going on.
Yeah.
And Joseph treats them harshly, and he ends up putting Simeon in jail, telling the other brothers, do not come back unless you bring your younger brother as a symbol of your honesty when you come back.
Yeah.
Really, he wanted to see his younger brother.
He wanted to see his brother, yeah. Well, don't forget, it had been 20 years, 21 years by that point when he had seen him. So they didn't recognize him at all. We were talking about this, he probably didn't recognize them right away either. Right? There's a mass of people that are coming to buy grain, and he's seeing some.
And he
or all
can't
of them
interview I don't think that he could interview all of them.
Yeah.
You made a great point. Probably the Egyptians were in another line.
Yeah.
And he was in the foreigner line because that's where the problems would have been.
Yeah, he's going to charge them more. He's going to determine, I'm selling to you, I'm not selling to you.
Well, are you a spy?
Yeah, are you a spy? All of the Egyptians will get food, but maybe I will, maybe not.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he hears a language that he maybe hasn't heard in 20 years, or maybe he has, but all of a sudden it catches his ear. He hears some names that he hasn't heard in 20 years, and all of a sudden he sees faces that, they're 20 years older, but I recognize those guys. And now he's paying attention.
Right.
And so, we go through all the stuff from last week of him, messing around with them.
So he messes around with them, throws one in jail, sends the rest back with money, which... they have to deal with,
right?
And now and tells them to bring back Benjamin, and their dad said, "No, you're not taking Benjamin."
Nope.
So now we start out this week, and in this week, Jacob tells them to go to Egypt to buy more food.
And Judah's
there's no food.
Reminds them, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
The man will not let, and I love the fact that they just refer to him as the man. First of all, his Egyptian name is about that long. They're like, we're not saying that, right?
Yeah.
So the man will not let us buy food. We told you what he told us.
Right. Jacob wasn't much help. He kept lamenting, I've already lost Joseph. I've already lost Simeon. Simeon's in jail. He's still alive, but in his mind, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And now you want me to lose Benjamin?
And we don't know that he's still alive.
Yeah, right.
He could have died in jail just,
Right.
I was going to say just like Joseph, but Jacob doesn't know that Joseph was in jail.
Right. So Judah, and remember, Judah's the one that originally said, let's kill Joseph. And then seemed very guilty about it too.
Yeah.
So now he seems to be trying to
he was going to kill him
for it.
And Reuben said, no, let's not kill him. And then Judah said, hey, I've got an idea. Let's sell him. It's even better.
We'll get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Judah's been the instigator behind this whole thing.
Right. And now he seems to have a little change of heart here.
Yeah.
Last week we saw Reuben saying, if we take Benjamin and something happens, you can kill my 2 sons.
Yeah.
Which you brought up as That doesn't really help anything.
It's not.
Yeah, but now Judah says, I pledge myself as security for Benjamin.
Yeah.
And there's a different spin there.
There really is. Judah said, Reuben said, here, you can kill my sons. Judah says, I will take care of the boy. The boy is now, mid 30s, early 30s, whatever. I'll take care of the boy. And you have my life, not just my kids' lives, whatever. You have my life if anything happens to him. Again, fine. I've lost Joseph. I've lost Simeon. If I lose Benjamin, I lose Judah too. Still doesn't seem, it doesn't add anything. It doesn't help, but there is a difference between what Judah said, what Reuben said.
So Jacob says, all right, take twice the money. Take the money that you took down there originally and they gave back.
Yeah.
And then take the same amount because you need to buy more grain too.
Which is interesting because we're assuming that it's going to be the same amount. Inflation, man.
A little extra. Well, you would think, this is the second year of a famine and everything costs more.
And nobody except for Joseph and the Pharaoh know that this is, the court, know that this is going to be 7 years. Jacob certainly doesn't know.
Right.
This has gone on for, and we'll find out this is the second year of the famine. Yeah. All we know, we don't know when this is going to end. At some point, even Egypt is going to run out of food, right? We don't know.
Right. So Jacob says, take twice the money. Also take the best products from the land of Canaan to Egypt. So the boys go. They appear before Joseph again with Benjamin. And Joseph told his servants, make a huge meal. These Israelites are going to be eating with us. Now, is that right? Is it right to call them Israelites at this time? Should it just be Hebrews?
Yeah, probably just Hebrews at this point. Yeah.
As I wrote it out, I was like, doesn't feel right yet.
Yeah, I mean, they are literally the children of Israel. I mean, Jacob is Israel, and these are his children, but they're not really using that term yet.
Yeah. So the brothers don't really understand what's going on. So of course they erred on the side of we're in danger here.
Yeah, well,
we're invited for lunch.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
Is this the final meal before he kills us?
So they actually confessed to Joseph's servant that somehow the original money was given to them, and they are happy to give it back.
Yeah, we brought it back with us.
Because they thought that they were going to get in trouble for that. So they gave Joseph the gifts that they brought from Canaan. They sat down for lunch. There's kind of neat in there. It says, the Egyptians will not eat with Hebrews, so there has to be separate tables.
So that actually is sort of a breadcrumb that sets up something in the future. That Egyptians and these Hebrews, they're not going to eat with them. So that's just keep that in the back of your mind. That'll be important again later.
I'll ask them off camera. Joseph was also at a separate table, and the brothers were arranged in age order. And I can just imagine them sitting down going,
wait a minute. How did
maybe you can get the older ones and the younger ones, but not that close.
Yeah, exactly in the middle, because if you remember, you have all 11 sons, excluding Benjamin, through Joseph. They were born in 7 years.
Right.
So
because there was at least four different
women,
moms.
right? Yeah, four moms and 11 boys plus a daughter that are born over a 7-year period. Which means some of them are born the same year. And you can't just go by, really by height. Yeah. I mean, it's like, no, it's like, how did he know that you're 4 months older than I am? I mean, just the whole thing exactly all the way down the line. Yeah. Something's creepy here. This is not right. This is weird.
So then they dole out the food, and Benjamin gets 5 times more food. Now, twice as much is ridiculous. 5 times.
Obviously, there's some favoritism here. But they had already said that Dad, not in so many words, but he's our dad's favorite. He wouldn't let him come, the whole thing. So why is the man, they can't call him Joseph yet, why is the man favoring him too? We don't understand.
Right. So Joseph instructed his servants to fill up the bags, like before, with grain. Again, put the money on top. And in Benjamin's bag, put in Joseph's silver drinking cup.
Yeah.
So that was all done. They eat lunch. All 11 brothers start home, and Joseph had them stopped.
So there
this
are
would have been along the way, but
there are some some translations that are actually going to call this his divination cup. So it wasn't just the one he drank out of, but like this is his special. Like, you know, nobody has this. In fact, chapter 44, verse 5, doesn't my master drink from this cup and use it for divination? They have stolen from the king himself almost.
Yeah. So Joseph has him stopped. He's not there, but it's Joseph's people. They search everybody. When they get to Benjamin's sack, they see the cup. Everybody starts ripping their clothes because they know nothing good is going to happen.
Because what they said, they were so adamant, we have not stolen anything. If you find it in one of our sacks, whoever that sack belongs to, you can have him and do whatever you want with him. We are that sure. Oops.
Right. Almost like Jacob and Rachel, right? When she stole the idols, you know, kind of the same lead up for it.
Whoever stole your idols to Uncle Laban, you can. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Except they didn't find those. They found this, and it's Benjamin. And Judah. I mean, can you imagine? Judah has just said, "Do whatever you want with it." I pledged my life to bring this.
Benjamin, what are you thinking stealing that? First of all, when did you? Yeah, exactly. When did you find time to steal this? All right, so they get back in front of Joseph, which is exactly what he intended. And he says, all right, all of you can go. I'm keeping Benjamin.
Yep.
Judah, again, the original bad guy, stands up. And he's also the one that made the pledge, so his life is on the line.
Yep.
He stood up for Benjamin. He stood up for the family. And I love it. He ends with, how could we go back to our father without our brother? And see how much pain our father would be in.
Yep.
You know, he knows how much the pain his father would be in.
Yep.
Because, you know, he knew it would happen.
Well, because he was the one who caused it the last time.
Right.
Not expecting how big of it.
Right. And now he knows. And it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see this change in Judah, which sets up again in chapter 49. There is a setup going on here. If you've never read through it before, you don't know it's a setup, but it really is. We'll be able to point back to the change that Judah's gone through since chapter 37.
Yep. Joseph finally admits who he is, and and he told his brothers, "Don't be angry because you sold me into slavery."
Yeah.
Right. But that would be the first thing, right?
Well, yeah, first of all, they're scared of this guy anyway.
Right.
And all of a sudden he says, I'm Joseph. Well, he kicks everybody out of the room, which now is not a good thing. And then he says, in Hebrew.
Right. And he's crying. And
yeah. I'm Joseph. And they're like, oh, man.
Well, right. But would it be, and then,
yeah. They're like, what is he gonna? You know, he's just been toying with it. This is cat and mouse at this point, right? There's no way he lets us live,
right? Right, but he comes back with, God sent me here. God allowed me to be the second guy in Egypt because of this.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to save the family.
Yep.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then he says the famine's going to last 5 more years.
Right.
You're not going to make it.
So here's our important time marker. It's only 2 years into the famine, right? So he's 30, and then there's 7 years of plenty. Now there's 2. So he's 39 years old. It's been 22 years. And so here's the thing. We were talking about this. In 22 years, well, I'd say even just in the last 9 years that he's been in charge, right? In 9 years, not once does he inquire about his family. Right. Not once does he doesn't send a scout.
Yeah, anybody to
see if he's asking, is my father still alive?
Right.
He doesn't even know. He doesn't know anything about his family. And then I remember he named one of his sons Manasseh, saying, certainly God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's house. He knows that they wrote him off, but he's written them off as well. He's done no investigation. He knows nothing about his family. So now he literally has to talk to his brothers for the first time in 2 decades, 22 years, and say, hey, is dad still alive?
Yeah.
That seems a little weird to me, but...
It's a weird family. It's a weird all the way. We got 45 years, 45 chapters of some weird stuff. All right, so the famine's going to last 5 more. You guys need to go home, bring Dad, bring everybody else here to
Everything.
Egypt.
Yeah.
We have food.
Yep.
So Pharaoh heard about this. You could see it happen, right? Hey, this is Joseph's family. We better tell Pharaoh.
Yeah.
How is he going to react? Pharaoh heard, and he supplied horses and a wagon to take everybody back to Canaan,
Yep.
and then bring back everything.
Yep.
Well, in fact, he says, don't even bother bringing anything.
You'll have
We'll
everything
supply
provided
everything
for you.
here.
Yep.
I love that, and I love there's a verse coming up later where Jacob takes everything.
It's like, if I'm moving, I'm not leaving my
Yeah.
stuff. Right? Well, you get to be an old guy, and you're like,
Right, it's your
"Man,
stuff."
that's my favorite.
Yeah. So just like Jacob sent the best of Canaan, now Joseph is sending back the best of Egypt. So
yeah.
he's sending back a bunch of donkeys, a bunch of food, the best products, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's also the food that they're going to be eating going down and coming back too.
Yep.
So it took Israel a while to understand what was going on. Imagine, like you said, 27 years. Now your favorite son is alive. No.
There's no-
Right. Give me some proof. Well, here's some donkeys. Here's
Well,
some.
but I thought you told
Well,
me.
we're not even going there. Dad, just focus on the good part.
Yeah, right. But didn't you tell me what about? Yeah, that's a whole conversation that these guys
Dad,
never
you still
really.
have the coat? Maybe we can.
They never wanted to have this conversation. Right. They never thought it would ever. They never thought it would come up again. Right. And all of a sudden, Joseph interrupts what they thought they had going on. Yeah.
Right. So I love the end of the chapter and the end of reading this week. Jacob ends by saying, "I will go and see him before I die."
Yeah. Yeah. Which, we aren't given. I mean, we could do the math and we could figure out how old he is. He'll actually tell Pharaoh how old he is next time. But yeah, I mean, it's been 22 years.
So,
And he's. I mean, can you imagine?
No.
In going through his head. Right. What's going through in Jacob's head right now?
Right. Well, and I would think he has hope, right? Didn't have hope. That went away. Now you hear what your sons are saying, you believe them, but there's got to be part of you saying, I have to see it for myself. In fact, that's what I take it as saying.
Yeah. And it's funny, at least in this translation, he said, enough. I mean,
all the
he's
bickering.
still got some, it's like, enough. He's still alive. I'll go see him, and then I die. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a lot left to live for, and that's where you said.
Right. But this is a major thing, right? It is picking up the whole family and taking them. So he has to evaluate. Is there really going to be 5 more years of famine? I mean, I know my son said that, but what's the chances of that happening?
Right.
To God gave me this land here, and now we have to go, or
well, and let's be honest. Every time his father and grandfather went into
other lands,
Egypt especially, didn't turn out real well, right? So is he supposed to be doing this?
Right.
And we'll see that he and God have an interaction next time about this.
Yeah.
But is he supposed to be doing this? Is he supposed to leave all of his stuff here?
Right.
Like you said, God gave me this land.
Right.
How does he know it's 5 more years?
Right. But that's I take all of that into that enough. We're going. I want to see my son.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And if I die there, I die there.
Turns out he's going to die there.
Well, and they'll end up being there for more than 5 years of famine, too.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
More time markers coming up.
Yeah, there is. But if you have never, and we're sort of having fun with this, but this is one of the great things about narrative passages in the Bible. Not even just Genesis, but just in the whole Bible. Sometimes it's so easy to read these things, especially if we're familiar with them. Read these stories, we know the stories, we read over it, and we forget there's time passing. We forget these are emotions, these are real people going through this stuff.
Why did Judah do that? Why did Simeon do
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is real life here.
Right.
And so we don't want to disrespect the Bible. We don't want to, be so speculative and whatever that we get away from it. But let's immerse ourselves into what's going on here. That's why we bring out the time markers, and that's why we try to bring out some of this emotion, because these were real people, and let's not do them the disservice and God the disservice of just reading a few words on the page so that we can get done with our reading for the day or whatever.
Right.
There's really some stuff going on here, and I think there's a lot we can learn about God and about people as we read through this. So we hope that these videos really are beneficial, and as you're doing your reading. And so the questions that you ask and the comments that you make, we do like hearing them, whether you put them online or you tell us in person. If you're here in the South Bend area, we do really love hearing back from you. So please do that. Please make your comments and questions, and share this with your friends and family. Do the subscribe and like and do all the things that we do. And we will pick up here next time. Just a few chapters left as we get ready to wrap up this book
Genesis.
and then wrap up Joseph's life here.
Yeah. So we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.